Hello, 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 and welcome to another episode of Mr. Boskin Does Some Math. Today we are doing Illustrative Math, Grade 8, Unit 4, Lesson 15 practice problems. Our first one here says Kieran and his cousin work during the summer for a landscaping company. Kieran's cousin has been working for the company longer, so his pay is 30% more than Kieran's. Last week, his cousin worked 27 hours, and Kieran worked 23 hours. Together, they earned $493.85. What is Kieran's hourly pay? So, first thing first, what are we trying to figure out? We want to know Kieran's pay. If we're trying to figure out Kieran's pay, let's call that X. That's what we want to figure out. His cousin works. So our other variable, we're probably going to need another variable because we're doing systems of equations. Let's call that the cousin. And the cousin's pay is Y. Okay, we've defined our variables. We know what they are. Now, can we create some equations? Well, I know that the cousin's pay is 30% more than Kieran's. So Y, the cousin's pay, has to equal Kieran's pay, which is X, but it's 30% more, so 1.3x. So 1.3 times Kieran's pay is the cousin's pay. Now, what else do I know? Well, the cousin worked 27 hours. 27 hours times the cousin's pay, and Kieran worked 23 hours times however much Kieran makes an hour, and together they earned $493.85. Okay, so we've got two equations now. What do we want to do? Well, I know that Y equals this right here. So I'm going to put that in the Y of the other equation. Let me stick that over. That's our original stuff. These systems of equations problems wind up with lots of work scattered around, kind of hard to follow, so let's make it clear what we're doing. 27y, but y is 1.3x, plus 23x equals 493.85. Okay, 27 times 1.3. 27 times 1.3 is 35.1. 35.1x plus 23x equals 493.85. Well, now we have some like terms that we can combine. Those are both x terms. 35.1x plus 23x is 58.1x equals 493.85. Divide each side by 58.1. And we know that x has to equal. What? You're surprised I'm using a calculator? No, I have no idea what this is off the top of my head. 493.85 divided by 58.1, 8.5. X equals 8.5. Ooh, what were we trying to figure out? We were trying to figure out Kieran's hourly pay. Kieran's pay, good thing we labeled it so we knew which one was X and which one was Y. His hourly pay looks like $8.50. Kieran's hourly pay $8.50. Okay, what have we got next? Decide which story can be represented by the system of equations y equals x plus 6. Why are you jumping around when I'm trying to zoom? Decide which story can be represented by the system of equations y equals x plus 6 and x plus y equals 100. Diego's teacher writes a test worth 100 points. There are six more multiple choice questions than short answer questions. Lynn and her younger cousin measure their heights. They notice that Lynn is 6 inches taller, and their heights add up to exactly 100 inches. So, if we have... Let's look at A. Does this make sense? The test is worth 100 points. So, x plus y. There are 6 more multiple choice questions than short answer questions. Does this tell us anything about how many points they're worth? Because there are more of those questions, but one of these is a total number of points. One of them is a total number of questions. Lynn and her younger cousin measure their heights. They notice Lynn is 6 inches taller, and their heights add up to exactly 100 inches. The units for both of these are the same. Their heights, if we add one height to the other height, is 100 inches. And the height of one of them is 6 inches taller than the other one. So the height of the other one plus 6 inches. That's got to be B. Claire and Noah play a game in which they earn the same number of points for each goal and lose the same number of points for each penalty. Claire makes 6 goals and 3 penalties, ending the game with 6 points. Noah earns 8 goals and 9 penalties and ends the game with negative 22 points. Write a system of equations that describes Claire and Noah. Okay. So, what do we want our x and y? Use x to represent the number of points for a goal, and y to represent the number of points for a penalty. I'm just going to leave myself a quick note. X, goal, y, penalty. Now, Claire makes 6 goals and 3 penalties, and it is worth 6 points. Noah earns 8 goals and 9 penalties and gets negative 22 points. Okay, we've got 2 equations here. Solve the system. So to solve this, the way we've been doing it, we have to solve one of these for a variable and then put that into the variable in the other equation. Which one of these looks nicer to solve for a variable? I'm going to go with this one. What's easier to solve for, x or y? Well, if I want to solve this for y, I'm dividing by 3. 6 divided by 3 is 2. If I solve it for x, I'm going to be dividing each side by 6. And 3 divided by 6 is a half, and I'd like to avoid fractions. So I'm going to solve this equation right here for y real quickly. If I want to solve this for y, first I have to get the x's on the other side of the equation. How do I do that? Let's just subtract them. So then those cancel. 3y equals 6 subtract 6x. Now to get the y by itself, I have to divide each side by 3. Those will cancel. And then y equals 6 divided by 3 is 2. Subtract 6 divided by 3 is 2x. There. So now I can do the real work to solve the system. If I know y equals this stuff, I'm going to substitute that in for the y of the other equation. Write out the other equation, 8x plus 9y, but we know y equals this stuff, so 2 subtract 2x instead of y equals negative 22. Now what do we want to do? Well, let's distribute. We're not touching this 8x yet. Just bring it down. 9 times 2 is 18. 9 times negative 2x is negative 18x equals negative 22. Now what do we want to do? Ooh, I see some like terms we can combine. 8 subtract 18x. 8 subtract 18x is negative 10x. And then we still have that 18 equals negative 22. Now, move that up a little bit so I get some more space. Got to get the x by itself, so I've got to get rid of that 18. So I'll subtract 18 from that side, do it to one side, I got to do it to the other. Negative 10x equals negative 22 subtract 18. We're going to be very negative. Negative 40. Divide each side by negative 10. Those cancel. Negative divided by a negative is a positive. So x equals 40 divided by 10, which is 4. Okay. Solve the solution. Am I done? No. These problems are exhausting. Okay. I solved for x. I still have to figure out what y is. Fortunately, I have a couple nice equations right here from the beginning I can use. Or, because this one right here is already solved for y, that makes it a little bit easier. We know that y equals 2 subtract 2 times x. X is 4. So y equals 2 subtract 2 times 4 is 8. So y equals negative 6. So we've got an x and a y. I like to always show my answer as a point. X value is 4, the y value is negative 6. What does your solution mean? Well, let's look back up to what we wrote at the beginning. A goal is x. A penalty is y. Use x and y to represent the number of points for a goal, y to represent the number of points for a penalty. It means a goal is 4 points and a penalty is negative 6 points. Let's write that out so we remember. Goal, 4 points. Penalty, negative 6 points. Beautiful. What's next? Ooh, solving an equation. Haven't done that in a minute. We have a system of equations, y equals 6x subtract 8, and we have y equals negative 3x plus 10. Those are both solved for y. If y equals this stuff, I'm going to put that stuff in the y of the other equation. So 6x subtract 8 equals negative 3x plus 10. More x's on the left, so let's get rid of them on the right. Get rid of subtracting 3x by adding 3x. Do it to one side, do it to the other. 6x plus 3x is 9x. Subtract 8 equals those canceled, 10. Got to get rid of this 8 now, so I will add 8 to one side, so I'll do it to the other. 9x equals, because those canceled, 10 plus 8 is 18. Divide each side by 9. Those cancel. X equals 18 divided by 9, that's 2. Now we know what x is. Let's plug that back in and figure out what y is. Y equals 6 times x, subtract 8. 2 times 6 is 12. 12 subtract 8 is 4. Y equals 4. Let's quickly check the other one here. Y equals negative 3 times 2, which would be negative 6, plus 10, which is 4. Yes. 2, 4, showing our answer is a nice point. Beautiful. Now, what have we got? Estimate the coordinates where the two lines meet. Okay, where is it? Well, I'd say it's right about there. If we are supposed to estimate that, I'm going to call that 1 point. Looks like maybe a little over. That's 1.5. Halfway there would be 1 3/4. Looks like maybe a little bit more than 1 3/4. So I'm going to call that 1.8. Our y value looks like just under 1.5. So I'll call that 1.4. Choose two equations that make up the situation represented by the graph. Okay. Well, let's look at the slopes of these. How about the y-intercepts of these? This line right here has a y-intercept of 0, which means it's either this one or this one. Now, let's look at rise over run. If I find a couple of nice points here, I see a rise of 1, 2, 3, 4, and a run of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So that looks like 4/5. Well, this one's 5/4, so it's got to be this one. That's one of our lines. Now the other line seems to have a y-intercept of here, so a y-intercept of 6, which means it's either number 2 or number 4. Let's look at our slope. Looks like we go over 2 and down 2.5. No. For one of those, I looked at the scale, and one of them I didn't. That's 1 unit. That's 2.5 units if we use the scale. Maybe I should have used the scale on this one. Fortunately, 2 squares is 1 that way, 2 squares is 1 that way, so that works. So going down, 2.5 over 1. That's going to be that one. Solve the system of equations and confirm the accuracy of your estimate. I'm sure it's perfect. I never make a mistake estimating. Both solved for y equals, so we can just set the two equations equal to each other. 6 subtract 2.5x equals 0.8x. The left side has numbers and x's, the right side only has x's. So let's get rid of the x's off the left. So I'm going to add 2.5 x's to each side. Those will cancel. 6 equals 0.8 times 2.5, 0.8. Nope, not times, plus. 3.3. Divide each side by 3.3. X equals 6 divided by 3.3, which is 1.8181818181. 1.81 repeating. Now, if we want to figure out our y value, we got to plug it back in. Let's plug it in there. Y equals 0.8 times 1.81 repeating. So y equals 0.8 times 1.818181818181. That looks like 1.45. So we've got 1.45 and 1.81. 1.81, comma 1.45. Let me scroll up and see what my estimate was. 1.8 and 1.4. So they were both a little bit low, but they were close. Much more accurate when we find our actual points, find our equations, solve them, and find the actual solution. Okay, that was the last one for today. This has been another episode of Mr. Boskin Does Some Math. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next time.